No, I don't have any glare.
Am I soda out of it?
No, you're fine.
It's not your beer.
Hey guys, we're gonna give it about 60 seconds to let people get in on here, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
What are supposed to be like today? 102. Sorry, 110 at 4
I thought it
o'clock.
was supposed to be higher. Tomorrow's supposed to be cool off a little bit, but
Wow.
Isn't today supposed to be like 108 or something like that?
110.
Oh man.
Yeah, at least in Goodyear.
All right, we've
Good.
got 10 people in. If you guys wanna.
All right, we'll get started. All right. So good morning, good afternoon, all. Welcome to Facebook Live. Safety first. So if you're watching this and you're trying to drive at the same time, please don't pull over or tune in at a later date and time. We will have this posted after it's complete, so you can watch it later if you'd like. As far as questions, as usual, you can post them whenever you want. As we're doing this, we'll answer them if we can. And obviously, if it's about the topics that we're talking about, if it's not, we might have to get back to you as at a later date or time, depending on what your question is. Again, safety first. I was just talking about the weather. I'm sure you can't see this, but in Arizona right now, today it's supposed to be 110 degrees. So make sure you stay cool out there, stay hydrated, drink water, and be safe. Some of the topics today we're going to go over is the Hazmat Checklist, macros, Qualcomm Macros in general. The DITS macros are coming up again, and DOT inspections. So if you don't know, obviously my name is Chris Stevens. We're joined with Chris Howard, and we'll get this kicked off. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Hazmat Checklist. This might be new to some of you. We probably started this January. It's January of this year. As you know that, every time you pick up a haz waste load, you've got to call your DM and go over this checklist. It is super important. We continue to talk about hazmat scores, your basic scores, company scores, all that stuff. And so this was introduced to kind of help eliminate some of the violations that you guys experience on the road. Whether it be something as simple as missing a placard, just not the right placard, to improper securement or whatever it might be. This checklist is designed to help you guys stay legal on the road out there and also be safe. So real quickly here, you've got to do one on every single load, whether you live load it at a customer, drop a hook from a customer, or you pull one out of the yard and it's already preloaded. Even if someone else loaded it for you, you still need to call into your dispatcher, driver manager, and go over this checklist. After you go through the paperwork and you make all the corrections that you need to make, call in operations just kind of said that. Any of the driver managers, if your DM is not available at that time, any driver manager can go over this checklist with you. So if you can't get him or her, the next available DM that can answer those questions for you, they will. Let's see. So one of the general violations that I guess we wanted to bring up that we've seen a lot of in the recent is not having your hazmat or your paperwork handy. So one of the rules on the road is you got to be within arm's reach, right? So whether it's in your side compartment on your driver's door, or if you have a side compartment next to your seat, anywhere within arm's reach, you have to have it. It can't be in the back of the trailer. It can't be in your bunk, stuff like that. So make sure you always have your paperwork within arm's reach. It's super important to have that. Anything else you want to add to that real fast, Chris?
no, that pretty much hits it. Especially the ones we've been getting a lot of the ones being pulled out of drop yards. A lot of people think that just because it's coming out of one of our yards that it was brought there by a local driver, which isn't the case. Especially with our Stericycle loads, a lot of them are accumulated at the yard and they put the paperwork together there. So you still need to make sure the Hazmat checklists are done then.
Okay. Yep. So good rule of thumb. Even if you didn't load it and you picked it up from a yard, no matter what, as soon as you hook to it and whatnot, give your driver manager a call. Just, it can't get much simpler than that. The second thing we're going to go over a little more in depth is Qualcomm Macros. So a lot of you that have been here for at least 6 months to a year, you guys have noticed over the past roughly year, we made a lot of changes to a lot of the macros. We've added verbiage for specific reasons. We've taken stuff off. We've taken off some of the canned macros that come to you guys because there's been a lot of unnecessary macros that you guys don't necessarily need. So in doing so, we continue to tweak this. Every single month, someone is thinking about adding something new, taking something off, something we don't need or something we do need. And so we want to kind of go over some of those items again to make sure that you guys are familiar with them. You know when you're supposed to send them, and hopefully help resolve some of the questions you might have. The macro 0, that's your free form message. Everybody doesn't know it. Most people don't know it as a macro 0, so it's a free form message. You guys use this daily. One of the things that's underutilized is when you guys are running late. If you hit traffic, whatever the reason is, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be just traffic, but we want you guys to be able to document this on the Qualcomm. That is the easiest way for us to be able to track anything that happened or is happening at the time it's happening. Obviously, some people are like, well, Chris, I can't use the Qualcomm because I'm driving. We understand that. We don't want you to use the Qualcomm while you're driving. So if you have to make a phone call because you're stuck or whatever, obviously use your hands-free headset to make that call. Or if your partner's awake, if you're a team, if you're in team environment, have your partner make that phone call or send the Qualcomm message in for you. We want to be able to document as much of that as humanly possible. But then we also, it's letting us know when you're going to be at the customer. If we expect you there at 7 o'clock and you're not going to make it, you guys are going to know before us that you're going to be late and you're running late and you know why and when you're going to approximately be there. So we're relying on you guys to let us know as soon as possible so that way we can give a heads up to our customers and let them know you're not going to make it and as to why, to hopefully help ease that transition. When you do get there late, they're not like, oh my God, how come no one ever told us? So the more communication you have with us, the easier it'll be for us to communicate with the customers and help smooth that over. The macro 1, the load confirmation. So we are requesting that you guys send the macro 1, the load confirmation, anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour max from when you receive our load assignment. Now we know there's times you're on the road, you're driving, you're a solo driver, and you might not stop for the next 3 or 4 hours. You still get the beep on the Qualcomm. It's still going to populate on there and says, hey, you have a message. So at that point, try to make it, if you can, try to make it a priority to take a look at that message or use your hands-free headset to call into your dispatcher and say, hey, do I got to take a look at this now? Can it wait? The reason being is because we're trying to make sure these load assignments are confirmed, we're good to go with them, and we don't have to replan loads as much as possible. We continuously hear, hey, you're not planning this fast enough or we're not planning far enough out. Well, part of that is because in order for things to line up, we have to know that pre-plan 1 is good before we can do pre-plan 2. And so those confirmations are very, very helpful to the planners to be able to help plan further out in the future if we can, if we have the freight. And right now, freight is definitely plentiful. On there, there's 2 questions. One question basically says, do you have the hours to make the load? Yes or no? Real simple question. As a sole, obviously, it's very, very important you know your hours of service. As a team, I've heard mixed feelings. Sometimes teams don't run out of hours. They can't run out of hours. Some teams do. The whole point is, do you have the hours to make the load assignment? Yes or no? The second question is, can you do the load? And I forget the exact verbiage on that, But basically, in a nutshell, it's saying, do you confirm, are you committing to the load, yes or no? Any one of those two answers, if they're a no, it will trigger an automatic response to us letting us know you're declining the load for whatever the reason might be. If you don't have the hours or you're declining the load, in the comments section below there, please put in as to why you can't do it. You're low on hours, you only have 5 hours to go and you can't do it. You're declining the load because your home time's coming up and we overlooked that, or whatever the reason is, it doesn't matter. Simply put it in the comments section so that way we can see it and we can address that with you, or take the pre-plan off, whatever the result happens to be. What else am I missing, Chris?
If they go over it verbally if you're going over your pre-plan verbally with your driver manager, because like you said, you're solo, you're not stopping for another 4 hours, and your driver manager can accept the load for you, but when you stop after that 4 hours, please send in your macro 1. It'll back up the work that your DM's done, and it'll also, for tracking purposes, allow us to see that not only did your driver manager go over the phone with you, but it's also on Qualcomm.
Yep. And then one final thing on load assignments. So we generally calculate your transit time averaging 50 miles an hour. Most of the time when you're driving, you're averaging more than 50 miles an hour. That is to allow for your brakes, fuel breaks, whatever it might be in that equation as well. So we just average 50 miles an hour. So if we've done our homework properly, the pre-plan that we send you, you should be able to do it. But there's times we overlook stuff, so obviously you're our last line of defense to take a look at that and say, no, we missed something, or yes, we're good to go. Before I go on, Brittany, any questions so far?
Nope, we're good.
Okay. All right, Chris, I'm gonna let you go on.
All right, the next macro we want to talk about is our macro 7, which is our empty call. Like Chris said, there's been many changes to this macro as well. One of those being at the bottom of the macro, it requests if your directions were good for the customer. Now, we've had drivers become real good about putting a yes or no there. The one thing we need real improvement on is if the directions are wrong, what do we need to change to make it correct for the next time? So if you can start adding the comments in there, it'll allow our CSRs to make those changes and check with the customer. The next macro I want to go over is our macro 12, which is our trailer verification. This macro is used anytime that you pick up a new trailer from a location that you didn't deliver at. For example, if you're taking your Clean Harbor load to the West Valley drop yard and dropping it, and we're having you bobtail to Wabash to pick up a fixed trailer, when you get to Wabash, you should send a macro 12, which asks you if the license plate's there, if the inspection is done on the trailer, and it'll also connect the trailer to your truck. At this time, you should also be doing your new empty trailer test, which will give us a chance in operations to make sure whatever changes we requested at Wabash were also done, and that we don't need any more work done to the trailer.
And Chris, is that the DCS test you're talking about?
Yeah. Okay. The next macro is macro 13, which is your home time request, especially for the newer drivers. Keep in mind that when you fill this out or pull it up on your Qualcomm, it automatically puts your home time to where your driver's license is set. I know we have quite a bit of teams that take home time in opposite locations, or it varies due to a wedding or something else that you have going on. So if this is the case, please make sure that you're changing it before you send the load information or your macro in. But also in the comments, take the opportunity to put, going to a wedding at such and such location, so your driver manager, if it doesn't come through correct, can make that change for you. As usual, we ask for approximate 2 weeks if we can get it. Obviously, we understand that there are circumstances that do arise, so if you need to get home quicker, then please just give your driver manager a call and send in the macro. The next macro is our macro 14 that we want to talk about, which is our breakdown macro. Drivers have been using this really good. The one issue that we've been having is that the drivers are not talking to operations after speaking with the shop. As in they send in their macro, they're being told, hey, take it to this location. The drivers agree and start heading there, but no one's communicating with the operations that either we're gonna miss a pickup or we might need to repower a load. So if this is happening to you, then please call into operations and make sure that information is passed along.
Now, just a quick comment on that. So just basically kind of staying in contact with your driver manager. Obviously the shop, when they get the macro and our driver managers get the macro, the shop will give you directions on what to do next with the trailer, whatever the case might be. You know, a simple Qualcomm message if you still have the truck in your possession, or a phone call to your DM to say, hey, by the way, shop told me to take it to ABC trailer repair, or hey, I'm gonna have to go do this next, or whatever the case might be. That way you know you and your driver manager are on the same page. There's no miscommunications behind any of that, and hopefully nothing gets dropped. No, you know, the ball's not dropped there.
The next topic we wanted to talk about is our load information and delivery windows. This one comes up quite a bit. We get quite a bit of calls to our driver managers requesting additional information, pickup numbers, drop numbers, things of this sort. A lot of times this information is in the additional information of the load. We understand that, you know, some loads you can get 5 messages, some loads you get 18 messages. So depending on what it is how much information you have to get through. So if it's, you know, a case where you're needing that information, please take a look at your Qualcomm first, and if not, then by all means get a hold of your driver manager, or anybody who picks up the phone can help you. Many of our customers will give us a window. For example, some of our Clean Harbor loads, you know, we have a window from 7 to 3. The problem what we've been having is that we've had quite a few people continue to show up at the end of this window, which has caused us to lose a couple of windows at certain customers. So we can no longer drop any time in this window. We now have to have appointments for certain customers. As far as planning and everything goes, our planners are working off our drivers delivering at the beginning of that window. So if you get a window that comes across at 7 o'clock to 3, then the planners and everybody is expecting you to be there at 7 o'clock. If you can't make that 7 o'clock, then you need to communicate with your dispatcher as to what time you think you'll be arriving at, so we can communicate effectively to our planners and make sure that, you know, you have a load set up behind it. Because if you get behind due to the window and we have to, you know, pull loads off you, it's going to hold up operations. Anything else on that?
No, I think you said it good. At the end of the day, I mean, yeah, well, you know, Chris said it best when he said about a window. You know, you guys know, you've seen enough loads to know that some customers are from 7 to 5. But if we plan you on a load and you see that 7 to 5, outside of unless we say something verbally on the Qualcomm, otherwise, like he said, we're expecting to be there at 7 a.m. And if you can't, please, you absolutely have to tell us you can't be there and as to why. Because, you know, as people continue to say, drivers say, well, how come I keep getting replanned? Well, stuff like this is one of those reasons why you could get replanned, because if you're not there till noon, you might not make your next pre-plan, and so we're having to pull that pre-plan off. It's going on someone else, another truck's effect. It's a downhill effect. So, yes, Britt.
Amber Tapia says that some of that additional info is from 3 years ago. It needs to be cleaned up.
Yes. So one of the things on the Macros 7, one of the questions talks about the directions right. That also kind of goes into, if you're seeing information on these directions that are just, it's old, please let us know. We literally, when we combined all 3 companies together, we ended up having roughly 52,000 location codes. How is that possible? Well, different companies serving different customers, different locations, duplicate locations, all that good stuff. The CSRs have been trying to go through these codes and update the information as fast as possible. If you see something on a load that you don't think is right, just simply send a Qualcomm message, and it can be something as simple as, to the CSR, please update directions to blah 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 location. Or if you see something that you know is completely outdated, put that on there. We will be more than happy to address those right away, get those directions updated, so the next time that load assignment comes across, they'll be updated. Thank you, Amber. Okay, where are we at? DITS messages. Okay, so DITS messages. Some of you may have already got phone calls about this. The DITS message, the L message, the loaded call message, there has been a change. You guys are used to putting in the GBOL, if it's DCS or not, and the trailer number that you picked up. Those are now effectively the old rules. They have put a change into effect, and we'll send this out on the Qualcomm if we haven't already. Okay, it's already been on the Qualcomm as well, but let's verbally talk about it. So here are the items that they want you to put on your DITS loaded call macro. You're still going to put in your build waiting number. You're going to put in your trailer number, the origin, the shipping origin, the destination. The origin and destination will include either the military facility name and state, or the commercial company name, city, and state. So for instance, Crane, Indiana. Richmond Bluegrass, Richmond, Kentucky. Commercial like General Dynamics, Marion, Illinois. And then
include multi-stops.
Yes, and then multi-stops as well. So that's for your DITS loaded call. Now, some people have already told me, Chris, we don't have enough room to put that much information on there. If you find yourself limited, I'm currently working with Omnitrax to get that expanded, but until they resolve that, unfortunately, you'll have to send a secondary DITS loaded call message. So it's very likely you'll have to send 2 L message to accomplish everything that you need to type in. All right?
Jason Matthews says, can we have an updated DITS message cheat sheet?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And can you guys email that out, or how do you guys want to send that out?
We can definitely email it out to you, Jason, if that's the way you like it. What I would say is just get with your driver manager and ask him how you'd like to see it. I think, like Chris said, we already sent a Qualcomm message out. How long? Do you know how long ago that was?
I don't know. I know Wanda sent one out within the last month.
Okay.
Is when it happened.
And that was just for the updated ones. But as far as every single DITS message, we can absolutely get that to you. If you want it by email, just let us know. Let your DM know, and we'll get that to you.
Might be able to get it on the driver website.
Yep, we can probably do that as well. Yep. The other change is your DITS A message, your arrive message. So when arriving at your destination and waiting to offload, you'll send the DITS A message. In the text portion of that message, you're going to provide the activity name, where you're arriving to, so you're going to be arriving at said location, and the phone number where you can be reached. Drivers must maintain signal with DITS unless inside a gated DOD military installation. If inside a gated installation, you can turn off your DITS until offloaded is complete and offload message is received by the DITS. So that part really didn't change. It was the arrive message that we're talking about changing. So you have to put in where you're at and the phone number that you can be reached at. The phone number part is the new part behind this. So make sure, and you should have enough room to put that in there because most people are just putting in Crane, Indiana or Richmond, Kentucky or whatever it might be. So you should have enough room to put in your phone number on that line. Those are really the only 2 changes for the DITS macros at this time. We'll get you that updated list if you want it via email or however you want to see it. We can get that to you. Chris will look at the website as well. That way you guys can go in there and print it off if you want to.
We have one more question that came
Okay.
in. It says, can we get an updated drop yard list with addresses and codes, if possible, to our email?
Yep, absolutely. The combo lock code we may provide or may not provide, but as far as the actual addresses and stuff, that's not a problem. So what's on the codes?
Discussion on that one.
Yeah. But as far as the actual codes themselves, the names, where they're at, what you can store there, yeah, we can definitely get you that. Either get with your DM, you can send Chris or myself an email. We can get that over to you. Either one of us can help you with that.
The last thing we want to talk about on the DITS messaging is the DITS U message. For those of you that don't know, we have a DITS call log, so anytime the DoD calls in questioning us about why we lose a signal or anything along those lines, we have to document it and kind of explain to them why things are happening. One of the biggest issues we have at the moment are people are stopping for fuel. However, they're trying to send their DITS U message once they're underneath the fuel canopy, which obstructs the message to getting out to DITS. So one thing we're asking is before pulling underneath a fuel island that you send in your DITS U message, make sure it gets out on the Qualcomm, and then you pull underneath the canopy. Other than that, everybody's doing a great job.
Okay. Any final questions? We got one more topic to discuss real fast. So the topic we kind of started on is almost the same topic that we're going to end on, and it happens to deal with DOT inspections. So we kind of heard, and we haven't got verification in terms of where, but we understand the DOT has a couple active checkpoints out there right now, other than the standard ones. They've got the roving ones out there right now. If we get confirmation in terms of where they're at, we'll definitely let you know. But in short, hopefully it shouldn't matter, right? Because if we're doing our pre-checks properly, the hazmat checklist for securement placards are correct and placed in the proper way on your trailer. As simple as a lock on the back of your hazwaste trailer. All those little things, all those add up. And obviously no one wants to get hit with an out of service violation or just a violation in general. So I guess the important thing to say here is just when in doubt, just make a phone call. If you need to make a phone call to someone you're not sure, please just pick up the phone and call. We can't afford it, you can't afford it. None of us want to have any sort of DOT violation, especially an out of service violation on the road. So whatever we can do to help you guys stay in compliance on the road, we're definitely going to do. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone, make a phone call to whoever you think you need to call, your driver manager, myself, anybody in recruiting, it doesn't matter who, but definitely pick up the phone and make a call, and we'll help you out. We'll make sure that you're compliant before you go drive down the road, and that way hopefully you'll pass your next inspection. So if no final questions, okay, we will conclude. Again, it's only 110 here in Phoenix today. Stay hydrated, stay safe, and thanks for your time.